My name is Neva Bell, and I'm 29. People think you can read a life from its square footage. Like happiness expands with every extra closet, mine fits inside 450 square feet, and somehow it contains more peace than my family's four-bedroom dreams ever could. I write code for a living. Minimalist by choice. Early light through brick-rimmed windows, coffee steam curling over a small table I built myself, and a bike ride that gets me to work in 15 minutes. The butcher on the corner knows my order. The barista knows my laugh. Mrs. Alvarez from 3B slips me warm empanadas when she makes too many. It's a life stitched together by tiny rituals, quiet, deliberate, mine. Sunday dinner at my parents' house is never quiet. There's always a centerpiece that looks expensive and a conversation that feels like a test. Dad, Robert, scrolls his phone until Mom looks up. Then he hums like an engine revved to appear useful. My older sister, Emily, and her husband, Michael, live 20 minutes away in a suburban two-bedroom with a balcony that faces nothing. Mom calls it ideal. I call it a commute and a cul-de-sac. We were midway through roast chicken when Mom, Patricia, if you're new to her stage play, cleared her throat the way she does when she's already written the ending. "I've solved everyone's housing situation," she announced, as if she were the UN and we were unstable nations. I stared down at my plate. News to me that there was a situation. She smiled the smile she uses on waiters when she's about to send something back. "Neva, you're almost 30. It's unbecoming to bring a man back to a studio." Emily and Michael, on the other hand, have all this empty space. They're rattling around in it. Michael's fork paused midair. Emily's lipstick curve lifted. She's always liked surprises, as long as she's the one being surprised with gifts. Mom laced her fingers. "So, Emily and Michael will try minimalist living in your studio, and you'll move into their two-bedroom. Everyone wins." I laughed, because it was safer than choking. "You solved it by swapping my life?" "It's not your life," she corrected. "It's square footage. You're too attached to that tiny box. Think about your future. When you meet someone, you cannot bring a man to a studio. It screams temporary." "First," I said, "men don't flee because the kitchen is galley style. Second, I like my apartment." Dad hummed, a neutral tone. "Switzerland." Emily dabbed her lips. "It could be fun, Neva. I've been wanting to try the neighborhood you're in. Walkable, cute markets. It's very aesthetic." Michael stared at his plate like answers were hidden under the potatoes. I sipped water to keep my voice calm. "I chose my place on purpose. The commute from your area adds 45 minutes each way. I won't do it." Mom tilted her head. "Sacrifice is part of adulthood." "So is no," I said. The air tightened. I saw it then, the part of Mom that sharpens when she meets resistance. She changed the subject to dessert as if we'd agreed. We hadn't. By Monday morning, my phone turned into a command center I hadn't enlisted in. 3 texts from Mom. "Modern sectional ideas for Emily's new space. Your current. Floor plan suggestions for your future office. A gentle reminder, movers book fast." 2 emails. Preferred moving companies, and a PDF titled Transition Timeline. A call from Emily. "Should we plan a packing party? Make it cute." And one from Michael whispered, "Sorry, I tried to slow this down." I wrote a group text, Mom, Dad, Emily, Michael. "I want to be crystal clear. I am not moving. I am not switching apartments. This discussion is closed. Please respect my decision." Responses rolled in like theater cues. Mom, "We'll see about that." Emily, "Don't be so dramatic, Neva. It'll be fun." Dad, Michael, no response. That night, I lay in bed watching streetlights make lace across my ceiling. I thought of the first time Mom tried to reorganize my life. Senior year of college, she had a job lined up for me at her friend's firm. Accounting. I majored in computer science. "You'll thank me," she'd said. I didn't. I moved across town and learned to be a quiet kind of stubborn. Tuesday, the calls multiplied. Mom left a voicemail where she sounded soothing. Dangerous. "Honey, you're scared of change. I get it. But you can't cling to a shoebox just to prove a point to yourself." She let the last word linger, turning it into a diagnosis. At lunch, I told my coworker Sam what was happening. He laughed. "Just humor her. Parents are weird about living situations." "Humor is how you end up living in someone else's idea of your future," I said. He shrugged, and I knew he didn't get it. People rarely do, unless they've had someone plan their life like a wedding seating chart. Wednesday brought new escalation. Mom texted me a Zillow link. 4 bedrooms, manicured lawn, 5 minutes from my parents' house. Since you're attached to independence, invest in something reasonable. We'll help with the down payment. Consider it an early inheritance. I stared at the green yard like it was artificial turf. The offer wasn't generosity, it was a leash. I didn't respond. That evening, Emily called with bubbly menace. I told the girls about the move. They're excited to see me try minimalist living. It's a brand. She giggled. When should I bring the measuring tape? You're not bringing anything, I said. You're not moving into my home. She went quiet. Then a brittle laugh. God, Neva, you don't want me to be happy. It's not about your happiness, I said. It's about my boundaries. Same thing, she snapped. You're always the exception, aren't you? After we hung up, I walked the length of my studio and realized it wasn't long enough to pace out all this anger. I imagined my books reorganized to someone else's aesthetic, my coffee table angled to match a vision board. The life I'd curated turned into Emily's content. Thursday, Dad texted, "Your mother is upset," as if Mom's feelings were the weather and I should carry an umbrella. That night, I changed my email passwords, security questions, and added 2-factor authentication everywhere. Paranoia? Maybe, but my gut felt like a lit match, and I've learned to trust it. Friday, just after dawn, I woke to a calendar alert I didn't create. Packing party. Saturday, 8:00 a.m. Guests. Patricia, organizer, Emily, 3 contacts I didn't recognize, and me. The location? My address. I clicked decline so hard I thought the phone would crack. The sun pulled across my brick wall, warm and indifferent. I breathed with it. The city stirred outside. Delivery trucks exhaling, a kid laughing 2 floors down, someone playing a radio off station until it found the song. My studio felt small and invincible, like a fortress carved from light. I texted the group again. Final notice. If anyone attempts to enter my home without permission, I will involve building security and the police. Mom read it instantly. No reply. Emily left a string of crying emojis, and God, you're cruel. Dad, scene. Michael, I'm sorry, I didn't know about the invite. I went to sleep with my phone face down and my heart wide awake. The last thing I thought before the dark pulled me under was simple and stubborn. No is a complete sentence, and tomorrow it will have an exclamation point. Saturday, 8:03 a.m. 3 minutes past the start time of a party I never agreed to. The knock wasn't really a knock, it was pounding. Urgent, confident, like the kind of sound people make when they already believe they belong inside. I slipped on a hoodie, heart already sinking, and opened the door. Standing in the hallway was my mother, Patricia, in moving day casual, sneakers, baseball cap, clipboard in hand. Behind her were Emily, 2 men with dollies, and a third balancing a roll of packing tape on his shoulder. Mom smiled like she was hosting a morning show. Perfect. You're awake. We can get started early. Movers charge by the hour. I stared, words evaporating. You're joking. Neva, you knew this was happening. We sent reminders. The calendar invite, I said? That wasn't consent. That was delusion. Emily brushed past me with her phone out, snapping pictures of my bookshelves. Just documenting for setup reference. It'll help me organize when we move in. I started, then stopped myself. No, you're not moving in. One of the movers, bless him, hesitated. Ma'am, can we get verbal authorization from the resident before we start? My mother didn't even flinch. She pulled out her phone and held up an email. Already have it, she said. See? Authorization from Neva Bell herself. My stomach dropped. The email address was mine. Well, my old one. The one I'd abandoned after college. The one she still somehow had access to. The mover turned to me. Is this legit? It's forged, I said flatly. Leave now. Mom's smile cracked. Neva, don't embarrass yourself. They're professionals. You've had your fun with the little apartment, but it's time to move forward. You can't expect a man to take you seriously in... Stop! My voice came out sharper than I expected. You don't get to weaponize my relationship status against my autonomy. Emily blinked like I'd spoken in code. Why are you being so cold? I just want what's fair. Fair? I said. Fair would be respecting that this isn't yours. The movers exchanged glances. We'll, wait downstairs, one said, and they rolled their dollies back into the hallway. My mother's tone turned tight. Unprofessional people, she muttered. No wonder they charge so much. I noticed Emily heading toward my bedroom with an empty box. I followed. She had my clothes half folded before I could reach her. I grabbed the box, yanking it from her hands. Emily, stop touching my things. She froze, eyes watering instantly. You always do this. You make me feel like the bad guy for trying to help. Help? I laughed bitterly. You're trespassing, Emily. She started crying harder. You don't want me to be happy. You never have. This is why Mom has to step in, because you make everything a fight. I wanted to scream. Instead, I lowered my voice. You need therapy, not my apartment. Her face twisted. Wow, you really think you're better than me? Before I could reply, she ran out, sobbing dramatically. My mother blocked the doorway like a wall. You are choosing a box over your family, she said. I'm choosing boundaries, I said. Something this family doesn't understand. Don't be ungrateful. I already spoke with the building manager. You're moving out next month. Emily and Michael will be on the lease. The room tilted for a second. You what? She crossed her arms. I explained the situation. They were understanding. They said they'd make it happen. My fingers fumbled for my phone. I called the building office on speaker. The manager, Diane, picked up. Hi, Neva, what's up? Quick question. Did my mother call you about changing my lease? Your mother? Diane sounded puzzled. No, and any changes would need your signature anyway. Why? I shot my mother a look. Her jaw tightened. Thanks, Diane, I said. That's all I needed. Mom's voice went ice cold. You're making a fool of yourself. Funny, I said. That's exactly what I thought you were doing. She tried to lecture me again about how this isn't sustainable, but I opened the door wide. Out. Never. Out. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Mrs. Alvarez from 3B, the same neighbor who brings me empanadas, peeked her head out. Everything okay here, eh? Mom straightened, smile snapping back into place. Family misunderstanding. Mrs. Alvarez crossed her arms. Then take it somewhere else. You're disturbing everyone. I'd never loved her more. Mom finally huffed, muttering something about police state buildings, and marched out, dragging Emily with her. The door clicked shut. I locked it. Then I slid down against the wood, shaking. The silence afterward was unbearable. It wasn't peace, it was aftershock. Over the next hour, my phone exploded. 47 missed calls from Mom. A long email from Emily about how I was sabotaging her happiness. A one-line text from Dad. Your mother is upset. And a private message from Michael. I didn't know they were showing up today, I'm sorry. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I changed my locks. Again. And this time, I paid extra for a key code no one could copy. By nightfall, the adrenaline had burned off, leaving only nausea and disbelief. I checked my hallway camera feed out of habit and froze. The footage showed my mother standing outside my door, arms folded, whispering to Emily. The audio was faint, but one sentence was clear. If she wants to play hardball, we'll play harder. I've already taken care of the paperwork. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I knew one thing. This wasn't over. For a week, everything went still. No calls, no emails, no dramatic family interventions. Just silence. But anyone who's grown up with a woman like my mother knows, silence isn't peace. It's prep time. The first sign came in a small envelope. My electricity bill, half opened, resealed with invisible tape. Then a magazine I never subscribed to, Modern Home Aesthetics. I didn't think much of it until I realized the mailing address read, Emily Bell, COO Neva Bell. That's when the dread returned. I went to the building office. Diane frowned when I told her. Mail tampering's a serious thing, she said. Want to install a hallway cam? Yes, I said immediately. And if you see my mother or sister, call me first. 2 days later, the camera paid off. There she was, Patricia, my mother, in her beige trench coat, rooting through my mailbox like it was her personal filing cabinet. When I confronted her by phone, she didn't even sound guilty. Relax, Baez, she said. I was making sure you weren't missing anything important. You're so disorganized, Neva. You opened my mail, Mom. That's a crime. Oh, for heaven's sake, it's family mail. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. That night, I met Ryan, my boyfriend, for dinner. We'd been seeing each other for a few months. Quiet, funny, patient, in ways that scared me a little because I wasn't used to calm. He listened to everything, eyes dark with disbelief. Your mom and sister broke into your place, forged an email, and now they're stealing your mail, he said. That's not eccentric. That's obsession. I know, I sighed. But when I tell people, they just laugh. They think it's quirky family drama. It's not quirky, he said. It's control. and control always escalates. He reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Maybe it's time to get the police involved. I wasn't ready to, not yet. I didn't want to believe my own mother could cross that line again. 3 days later, she proved me wrong. I came home from a work trip, 3 days out of town for a conference. My key code worked, but something felt off before I even stepped inside. The faint scent of lemon cleaner. A rug perfectly aligned that I'd left crooked. My coffee table angled differently. My books reorganized by color instead of author. My bathroom shelf rearranged by height. Someone had been inside. I froze, adrenaline roaring in my ears. Then I saw it. A notebook on my counter. Spiral-bound, pink cover. Not mine. Inside. Precise measurements of every wall and window. Sketches of furniture layouts labeled Neva's new setup. Notes like, inefficient cabinet use. Will replace after move-in. My stomach dropped. On the last page, a list titled Essentials to Bring When I Move In. Plants, throw pillows, candles. It was Emily's handwriting. I checked my hallway camera footage again. And there she was, bright as daylight, standing outside my door, smiling for the building's maintenance man. He unlocked my apartment for her. Later I learned she'd told him, I'm Neva's sister. She wanted to surprise her boyfriend with a deep clean before she got home. The footage caught everything. I called the building office immediately. Diane was horrified. She told him she had permission, she said. I'll handle it. Then I called Emily, straight to voicemail, then Mom. This time my father answered. She doesn't want to talk to you until you're ready to be reasonable, he said. Reasonable, I repeated. Mom's teaching her how to forge my boundaries like she forges emails. He sighed. You always exaggerate. You know how she gets when she feels left out. Left out. That was his phrase for terrifying and manipulative. I hung up and dialed the police. The responding officer was kind, if a little weary. Since nothing was stolen and they had a past relationship to the property, he said carefully, it's technically a civil matter, but you can file a report. I want to, I said, and I'm installing another lock. That night I called Michael, Emily's husband. He sounded hollow, tired. I didn't know she did that. I told her it was going too far. She left her notebook here, I said. She's planning her new life in my apartment. He hesitated. She's not well, Neva. What do you mean? She's been in therapy for anxiety. Her doctor says she's fixating on things she can control. Your apartment became one of them. She keeps saying if she could live where you live, she'd finally feel calm. I sank into my couch, shaking. So this is therapy now? Violating my space? I'm sorry, he said softly. She's not listening to anyone, not even Mom. When I hung up, I saw it. A text notification from an unknown number. Your lease modification has been approved. Emily Bell added as co-resident. My blood ran cold. I called Diane again. What modification? She asked. She checked, then cursed. Someone forged your signature on the forms and dropped them off in person this afternoon. Who? Your mother. That was it. Within an hour, I had a suitcase packed and a hotel booked across town. Ryan offered to come stay with me, but I told him I needed one night alone, to think, to breathe, to stop shaking. As I closed my apartment door behind me, I whispered, this was supposed to be my safe place. But now it wasn't. It was evidence. The next morning, I woke up in the hotel with my phone buzzing nonstop. 47 missed calls overnight, 15 from Mom, 10 from Emily. The rest, extended family. The subject lines in their texts blurred together. You're destroying your mother. Why involve lawyers? She just wanted to help. I turned the phone face down. Then I called a lawyer. Her name was Ruth Lynn. Sharp voice, calm eyes. She didn't flinch when I told her everything. The forged email, the fake lease, the break-in under the guise of cleaning. She listened like she'd heard this 100 times, and maybe she had. When I finished, she said, you're past boundaries. This is harassment and fraud. We'll start with a restraining order and cease and desist letters to both your mother and your sister. You'll need to send the building the footage and a copy of that forged lease. By noon, my apartment was off limits to them by official notice. By 3, the building had banned Patricia and Emily from entering the property. By 6, my mother had posted a long Facebook rant about children these days weaponizing therapy against their own family. My aunt forwarded it to me with a sigh emoji. That evening, my father called. His voice was quieter than usual. Neva, your mother's upset. Dad, if you say that one more time, I swear. He interrupted softly. I'm not defending her. I'm apologizing. I didn't know she forged your signature. That's too far. I said nothing. She's not the woman I married anymore. There was a pause long enough to fit 30 years of silence in it. Then he said, I'm staying with your uncle for a while. I think I need space too. That was the first time I ever heard my father say he needed anything. A week later, my lawyer called with updates. Your case moved fast, Ruth said. Judge signed both restraining orders, 1 year minimum. Your mother's behavior pattern was deeply concerning. She sent me the hearing transcript. Mom's defense. I was just helping my daughter grow up. She's scared of real responsibility. The judge didn't buy it, especially after seeing the forged lease documents and hallway footage. Emily didn't contest hers. Through her lawyer, she sent a statement. I acknowledge my actions were inappropriate. I'm seeking therapy and taking responsibility. It should have brought me relief. It didn't. It just made me realize how broken things really were. A few days later, Michael called again. She's in a treatment program now, he said, for anxiety and something called displacement fixation. Meaning? I asked. Meaning she projected her unhappiness onto your apartment. Your calm life became this symbol she thought she could steal. He paused, then said, and your mom, she planned this for over a year. My breath caught. What? She had journals, he continued quietly. She kept notes about you, about Emily. She'd been slowly telling Emily that her marriage wasn't working, that you'd be happier if you lived closer to home. She convinced Emily that you were lonely in that tiny box, and just didn't know it yet. I felt the room spin. She planned the swap? Planned it and rehearsed it, he said. Emily showed me one of the journals. Your mom had it all written out. Who would live where, who'd handle what furniture, even how she'd justify it to your building. I sat there gripping my phone, heartbeat roaring in my ears. Michael hesitated again before adding, she also had a section labeled long-term goals. It listed things like, Neva marries at 32, husband, someone from church, kids, 3, home, 4-bedroom, 5 minutes from us. I covered my face. Oh my God. Michael's voice broke. I'm sorry, Neva. She's been doing this to Emily too, making her feel like she's failing if she doesn't follow the plan. This apartment thing was just the first domino. The next morning, I received a voicemail from my Aunt Linda. Your mother's been having chest pains, she said dramatically. You've pushed her too far. I'd heard this script before. Guilt as oxygen. Manipulation as heartbeat. So I called Ruth again. Can I block my entire extended family? She chuckled. Absolutely. Document everything, then block away. I did. And for the first time in my life, my phone stayed silent. Truly silent. Weeks passed. Dad officially filed for divorce. Emily stayed in treatment. Michael kept me updated with short, careful messages. She's calmer. She's starting to understand. She doesn't hate you. She hates the reflection you forced her to see. And Mom, she doubled down on her narrative. In her latest letter, sent through my lawyer, she wrote, I forgive you for the restraining order, Neva. You've always been dramatic. The house near us is still available if you'd like to come to your senses. I didn't respond. Ryan, my boyfriend, brought me takeout one night and found me sitting on the floor surrounded by legal papers. He took one look and said, You're not crazy. You're just the first one who refused to keep pretending. I laughed through tears. That's not comforting. It should be, he said softly, because pretending is how people like your mom win. That night, for the first time since this nightmare began, I slept through till morning. But closure, as I'd soon learn, wasn't a document. It was a conversation I never expected to have. 3 months later, the world was quieter. Not healed, just quieter. The restraining orders were still active, though Emily's was nearing its end. She hadn't violated it once. Not a single call, text, or note on my door. My lawyer said that was a good sign. Michael confirmed it. She's doing the work, Neva. She's different now. So when he asked if I'd agree to meet her, with her therapist present, I said yes. Not out of sentimentality, but because some stories need a proper ending. We met at a coffee shop downtown. I chose the seat with the window, my back to the wall out of habit. Emily arrived with Dr. Rodriguez, her therapist, older woman, firm handshake, eyes like they'd seen too many families implode. Emily looked smaller than I remembered, calmer, no designer jacket, no rehearsed smile, just a woman holding herself together by visible effort. Hi, Neva, she said quietly. Hi. Dr. Rodriguez started the session like it was a mediation. We'll keep this structured. Emily wants to apologize, and we'll make space for you both to speak. I nodded. Emily's hands trembled around her coffee cup. I'm sorry, she said, and the words didn't sound practiced. Not the kind of sorry where I expect forgiveness. Just the kind where I know what I did was wrong. I violated your home, your trust, your safety. I watched her carefully. Why? She took a shaky breath. Because I thought if I could live your life, I could feel your life. You seemed happy. I wasn't. I thought your space was the reason. I blinked. My space? She nodded, eyes filling. You were content in a tiny apartment, living below your means, working in peace. Mom told me you were lonely and stubborn, but all I saw was freedom. And I couldn't stand it. I wanted to understand how you could be happy alone when I couldn't even breathe without someone telling me who to be. It wasn't self-pity, it was confession. Dr. Rodriguez glanced at me. Your sister's been unpacking a lot about growing up under a mother who overdefined her children. The fixation on your apartment was an attempt to steal control she never felt she had. Emily continued softly. You set boundaries, Neva, and I hated you for it because it proved it was possible. Mom raised me to think obedience was love. You showed me that love without freedom is just guilt with better lighting. For a second, I couldn't speak. I just sat there, feeling a grief I didn't expect. After a long pause, I said, You hurt me, but I get it now. Mom wrote our lives like scripts, and you played your part. I refused mine. She nodded. I'm still learning who I am without her voice in my head. We talked for 2 hours about childhood, about how Mom used to decide which friends were appropriate, about the day she told Emily that Michael wasn't strategic enough to marry, about how she told me that my independence was a phase. Dr. Rodriguez guided us through every thorny corner, translating chaos into patterns. Words like enmeshment and differentiation floated between us until 30 years of tension finally made sense. When we stood to leave, Emily looked lighter. I don't expect us to be close again, she said, but I hope someday we can exist in the same truth. That's enough, I said quietly, existing honestly. A week later, I heard from Dad. He was living in a small rental near the lake, newly single, newly peaceful. She's still telling everyone I've been brainwashed, he said, chuckling without joy. But you know what? I'm finally sleeping. Mom had moved into the 4-bedroom house she once tried to push on me, alone, hosting imaginary brunches for her book club, telling anyone who'd listen that both her daughters had turned against her. It didn't even make me angry anymore. It just sounded sad. Michael and Emily eventually found a new rhythm. They downsized to a 1-bedroom apartment they picked together. When I asked how it felt, Emily said, smaller space, bigger honesty. I smiled. Sounds familiar. As for me, I stayed right where I was. My studio never looked better. The locks were new, the light still perfect, the air still carried the faint scent of coffee and calm. Mrs. Alvarez still brought empanadas on Sundays. Ryan and I were still together, steady, kind, unhurried. He'd met a few of my saner relatives and handled their small-town interrogations with humor. When he first saw my apartment, he smiled. It's perfect, he said. Really? He shrugged. Space doesn't make it perfect. You do. I laughed because maybe for the first time in my life, I actually believed that. One night, I sat by the window, watching the city lights shimmer off the glass, and thought about everything that had happened. The forged documents, the tears, the fear, and the strange relief that came afterward. Boundaries had cost me a family structure that never worked, but they'd given me something better. Peace that didn't require permission. I typed one final message to my therapist, Ruth. It's quiet here again, but this time the silence feels safe. Her reply came seconds later. Good. That means it's finally yours. I smiled, turned off my phone, and let the silence stay. Because sometimes the smallest spaces hold the biggest boundaries, and the biggest love comes from finally learning to protect your own peace.